My name is Chris Havers. I am the project director of the Sustainable Facilities Management Index. And as many of you know, we conduct our monthly bite-sized webinars in the middle of each month at lunchtime, and we aim to give you an educational view of a key part of what a sustainable facilities manager should be, sustainable facilities management should look like in different areas of sustainability. So I'll give you a short introduction for those of you who haven't joined us before. The SFMI, the Sustainable Facilities Management Index, is an organization which is operated by Aclara Advisory, and it's run with the purpose and mission of embedding sustainability into the management and operation of the FM sector. We do this through a number of pillars. We work with the FM industry in order to understand and explain the issues surrounding sustainability within the industry. We provide an annual roadmap which tests FM providers against how they're performing according to best practice and where they should be heading in the future. We work to upskill the sector, and also we celebrate success and share excellence in the sector. And our monthly bite-sized webinars are a way of not only celebrating success and sharing best practice, but also upskilling the sector and providing organizations with an understanding of the issues and challenges that they need to overcome. In particular, we welcome today Alex, who is head of the e-mobility and EV solutions at MITIE PLC. Obviously, many of you will know MITIE PLC. They are a high-performing FM within the Sustainable Facilities Management Index, and in particular performed incredibly well within the transports part of the SFMI's assessments, becoming one of the leaders within this field. So we welcome Alex, who will be taking us on an understanding of how MITIE have built up their strategy and how they and the challenges that they've overcome to get themselves in the position of where they are. So Alex, I'm going to hand over to yourself. Please do, while Alex is speaking, please do use the question and answer button and pop in your questions, and then we'll collate those as well so that we can have a bit of a discussion at the end and kind of help unravel the mysteries of sustainable transport in FM. So Alex, thank you very much for joining, and over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Can you see my slides all right?
Certainly can.
Great. So as Chris mentioned, today I wanted to talk a little bit about sustainable transport in FM, but not only in FM, just more broadly the implications of moving to a more sustainable form of transport and what that means for organizations. I think the message from COP26 was clear. The time for pledges is over, and it's time to put some of those into action. And it was great from a transport perspective to see 30 countries and 6 major vehicle manufacturers signing up to the Declaration on Zero Emission Cars and Vans, so working towards 100% zero emission vehicle sales by 2035 in leading markets and 2040 everywhere. That includes buses, trucks, and heavy goods vehicles, something which has always been overlooked slightly until now. So just a bit of an intro on MITIE. I mean, I'm sure all of you know MITIE. We're the leading FM company in the UK. 3.5 billion in revenue, with over 80,000 people in our team, serving 4,200 customers across all sectors. We have a number of awards and accreditations which kind of demonstrate our values and our social value commitments. And we were the first UK FM company to set a net zero target, and we're on track to meet that. So we were also the first FM company and the 8th overall in the world to sign up to all of the 3 climate groups initiatives, so the EV100, the EP100, and the RE100. So we recognize the importance of sustainability as part of the work we do in FM. In terms of our business, it's centered around 2 key buckets. So business is traditional security, cleaning, and office service type work, and then we have a technical services team which looks at the harder aspect of FM, where we have energy projects, connected workspace, again, a very interesting topic around sustainability around FM, and telecoms and maintenance. So the thing that I'd like to focus around on here is how we are really truly focusing on delivering FM through the science of service. We want to focus on technology-led solutions that leverage and utilize data across the different estates or sites of a client's organization that support and help stakeholders and us as facilities managers make better decision making around how we manage those facilities. So within our technical services team, we have our energy team as outlined before, and within that we have the Plan Zero initiative, which is basically MITIE's decarbonisation commitment. We are committed to decarbonising Britain's built estate. We have made pledges and progress around our own decarbonisation, but we now are leveraging those lessons learned from our own journey, as well as leveraging our engineering and technical expertise to support our customers and their decarbonisation ambition as well. So from a Plan Zero and decarbonisation perspective, we offer a whole brand of services from consulting all the way to design and build of solutions across a number of areas, as you can see here, on EV and green projects, which is where transport sits, which I lead, is clearly a big part of that. To date, we've saved, I think, over 350,000 tons of carbon for our customers, which is the equivalent of 11 times our own emissions. So it's pretty significant when you think about it that way, and saved over 20 million pounds in bankable savings for our customers. So if we look at transport in a bit more detail, so obviously we all know that decarbonising transport is critical to achieving net zero. This sector in the UK has been the largest contributor to CO2 emissions since 2016. In other countries, energy is still the largest emitter, but in the UK, driven by the improvement to our fuel mix, the rise of renewables, transport is now the most polluting industry, and road transport is over 3/4 of that. And clearly for FM companies that are driving around the country, managing and operating facilities all over the place, it's critical to address that if we're ever going to have a chance at achieving net zero by the time that we need to achieve it by. If we look at what is happening more broadly in transport, we see three megatrends affecting this industry. There's the electrification of powertrains and deployment of alternative powertrains, be it hydrogen or other zero emission solutions like renewable natural gas and alternative fuels. The rise of connected and autonomous vehicles and the increase of shared mobility business models to actually start getting people out of cars as well. This future of mobility ecosystem can be seen as the decarbonisation, the digitalization, and in a way the personalization of transport, underpinned by these trends. And consumer preferences, government regulation, there's a lot of drivers which are impacting this, and economics as well, increasingly. And this is resulting in value chains across different sectors which are converging, but more importantly, is creating a lot of opportunities for collaboration, but also a lot of threats for companies. And obviously FM is no different. So this sector convergence I mentioned is a key outcome of the trends that we're seeing. And this is just maybe a bit of a messy spider diagram, I call it, but it's basically trying to visualize a bit of what is happening. Value chains that previously were completely isolated and unidirectional are now starting to center around the customer, or in the case of transport, around the fleet. And a lot of this is clearly underpinned by data and technology. But what is evident, I think, is that the future of transport and the way we see transport going forward will be impacted by a number of value chains and sectors that were previously completely unrelated, and which organizations now need to start to consider when looking at their transport operations. And of course, this will create more complexity for FM companies as they try to operate and maintain their clients' facilities. If we deep dive into the charging ecosystem a little bit, again, this is one that has never been able to be seen in isolation. The energy, the vehicle, and in fact, the charging infrastructure value chains are interconnecting, and are converging as the needs of energy customers and mobility customers are merging. This is unlocking clearly a lot of new ways for players in this ecosystem to compete and to grow market share and to develop new value propositions to support customers. But it also means that everything needs to be looked at together. It's been interesting to see over the last couple of years, and more so over the last few months, how a lot of OEMs are starting to enter the power and energy markets. Most notably Tesla a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, applying to get an electricity supply license in the UK, or a number of utilities starting to offer vehicle services. So like most notably Octopus. So there's a lot of convergence, and all of this is underpinned by software and technology platforms, which allow sort of interconnection between all of this. And clearly, this will be something FM companies need to consider if they're to keep maintaining these facilities on behalf of their customers. So again, here, just to show a little bit of a visual example of what this convergence of sectors represents, and the opportunities and challenges, if you will, that it presents for FM companies. So the diagram on the left shows a bit of a representative or illustrative building with all the different elements that will require management, but that also can support transition to a net zero built estate. All of these will increasingly, and have already started, to talk to each other. And from a transport perspective, the vehicle will be no different. So the vehicle previously was just seen as an asset for companies, and now we start seeing it as an extension to the built estate. The vehicle will talk to the charger will talk to the building, and the vehicle itself will talk to the building, and everything needs to be managed holistically if you are to really achieve a sustainable building and a net zero building. And on the right, you can see a bit of another illustrative example of what this multi-technology sort of thinking looks like. You've got a building which you need to decarbonize, and the first thing always that we say as part of our Plan Zero conversation with clients is, before you start doing anything to your building, reduce the consumption of it. So think about your building first, and then start putting in solutions, whether it's air source heat pumps, solar PV, or charging infrastructure supported by storage. All of that will talk to each other, supported by analytics. And as an FM provider, you need to be comfortable with all of this data and be able to operate it and generate insights from it, so that you can inform decision making and improve decision making for developing of solutions that allows the customer to keep operating and running their day-to-day operations while you support them along the decarbonization journey. So from a MITIE perspective, we clearly have made a lot of progress. You may have seen on the news, we've made bold commitments and a lot of progress in electrifying our fleet. We've committed to a fully electric fleet by 2025. We currently have the largest pure electric fleet in the UK, with over 1,700 electric vehicles, 840 or something like that on order. Over 2,000 by the end of the year, and 30% of our fleet will be electric by March 2021. So a lot of commitment, a lot of pain to get there, but definitely showing that progress. We will not have the largest electric fleet forever, clearly, because we're not the largest fleet in the UK, but we're clearly up there. And having learned all of the pains and lessons from this journey, we've started supporting our own customers along the same journey, providing truly end-to-end EV infrastructure solutions for them that can help them get to where we are today in a more seamless, in a faster, more cost-effective and less painful way, let's say. So clearly, having been one of the first movers in electrification, there are a lot of lessons that we learned along the way, and it hasn't come without its challenges or without its lessons, let's say, that we learned. We know the key barriers of electrification. Everyone knows them. Everyone talks about them around cost and range and infrastructure. Vehicles are too expensive, on a like-for-like basis, which is still true. The range is not there yet, which is partially not true. But if you want to go on a summer trip down to Cornwall, you may have an issue in charging. And then the infrastructure, is maybe not there yet, particularly in terms of the type of charging that is required for the different use cases. So that means that as a company, when you're making that transition, you need to choose the correct vehicle. It needs to have the right range for the right type of operation that it's running. It needs to be at the correct cost, otherwise no one will sign off your business case internally. And then you need to make sure you have the correct infrastructure. So where is the driver gonna charge when he or she is not at home, or not in the office or in a depot? What is the solution for public charging? How can that be seamless enough so that your fleet driver doesn't need to download 5 different apps to be able to charge depending on where they are on that day? And then one thing that often gets overlooked is the need to get buy-in from drivers themselves, as well as from the business, and raise awareness within the business. There's a big educational piece around electric vehicles and electrification in general, and making sure that you do get that buy-in is critical. Most, if not all, of the people that I speak to who are going through this journey say the same thing, that once you drive an electric vehicle, there is nothing that will make you go back to a petrol one. So giving the chance to your drivers to get into an electric vehicle and demonstrate to them that it doesn't impact the operations of the business and it's actually just a net positive is critical. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can do internally to accelerate that. Particularly the last point there on comms. Just keep pushing those comms out and getting people aware of what the solution is, and that it is the best solution for everyone. And finally, just wanted to end a bit on a positive. So being the first to the party has also allowed us to be able to celebrate some great achievements. So we recently launched the UK's, and some people, I think it's a great name, not everyone agrees, but we've launched the UK's first zero emission gritting service for commercial use through our landscaping business. And this is being currently used at Nottingham City Council, and it's a great demonstration of how something that, if you would have asked anyone 5 years ago, will you ever have an electric gritter, people would have never believed you. And this shows that if you focus on the right vehicle, the fact that this gritter has a specific, very specific number of miles that they do on a daily basis that is guaranteed, then the solution is out there to make it cost competitive and economic. And this has now been launched, and hopefully this can be the first of many, because organizations, when they think about cutting emissions, gritting is not the first thing that comes to mind, but all aspects of your operations need to be considered. And I think this is a nice little piece of news that we can celebrate in terms of showing how sustainable transport in FM and sustainable electrification of vehicles in FM is something that if you just go out there and do it and test it and pilot it, the outcomes will happen. So I think that's the last slide for me. And I'll open up to any questions now.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. I'm going to just pull back to my screen. We've had a flurry of questions come through, which is great. Everyone is super engaged. I think EVs and transport is a real tangible topic, I think, which kind of everyone can get their head around. But I think, so to start off with, I think we'll have companies of different segments of their journey along here. I mean, from your perspective, if we were to have someone at the start of their EV journey, is there any kind of what are the top 3 tips that you could give a company to start off with in order to push through an EV strategy?
So I'd say the first thing would be exactly that, what you said. So be clear on what it is you're trying to achieve, what is your ambition, and what is driving the need for electrification. I mean, we all know the ultimate goal, but what is your tangible ambition that you're working towards, and set up a strategy that allows you to get there so that you have a clear plan. I would say it's important to have someone within the business who is accountable for this, rather than it being different business units doing their own thing. We've noticed with our customer base that, you know, when you've got different people in different sites doing different things, there's no coherent strategy. But if you get a single accountable person to own it, that's a big plus. And you can see a lot of CEOs in recent consultancy surveys that are saying that they want the sustainability director or person in charge to report directly to them, because they want that accountability. And then finally, I would just say, just do it, basically. Get a pilot and test it, and don't wait for the perfect answer, the perfect vehicle, the perfect business case. Trial it, and you will see that once you trial it, it's very hard to go back, really.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
so we had a question from a chap called Adam at the Natural History Museum. Adam's interested in the life cycle assessment of EVs to ICE vehicles, which I have to admit, as a sustainability professional myself, this is not something I've looked into, but I've often actually thought about it, because obviously the immediate operational reductions are there. Can you tell us about, do you have understanding of what the life cycle assessment is between EVs and ICE vehicles?
So first things first, I want to say that, you know, just switching to EVs will not solve the climate challenge, and that's clear. You know, that there's issues with battery, second use, third use, what happens to them after you use them. The mining of certain materials is questionable, for sure. However, what it is also clear is that if you get a nice vehicle, you get an electric vehicle, and you do an end-to-end life cycle assessment of the emissions from just purely emissions, you know, the petrol vehicle will always, in any situation, be much more polluting than an electric equivalent, no matter how you mine any of the ingredients, just by the nature of the fact that to get the petrol into your car, there's a whole bunch of steps that need to happen that are polluting in their own respect, in a higher way than the electric vehicle. So that's to answer that question. But I do believe that there's a lot of work to be done to make the supply chain of electric vehicles more sustainable. And it's great to see, actually, out of COP26, I met with I was in a panel where the sustainability director for Volkswagen group was talking, and he went on about very strongly how they are ensuring that the supply chain, all aspects of the supply chain, whether it's not just pollution and climate, but also like slavery and working conditions and ethics and all of that, is controlled and looked at before they make decisions. So I think people are moving towards that whole life cycle view a lot more, and you know, just the fact that you're thinking of changing to electric means you have sustainability in the back of your mind, which allows you to have those conversations. But yeah, in terms of life cycle end to end, petrol will always be dirtier than electric.
Sure, yeah. Sure. And just, I guess, quickly on that similar topic, is there an understanding of what happens to the batteries, for example, once the charge ability of them has worn down? Is there an approach that MITIE could take for that?
There's a number of solutions out there for second use, third use, and you know, recycling batteries. Tesla recently announced that they're making big progresses on that. The big problem, as always, with anything in life is cost and money. So a recycled battery is significantly more expensive than a new battery. I think as technology improves and that improves, we will see more second use batteries for vehicles. But there's definitely a lot of non-vehicle and non-transport related uses for batteries that come out of cars, for like battery storage or other applications that we're starting to see. So it's by no means perfect, and it's a long way from being perfect, but there's a lot of solutions out there to use batteries when they finish the use in the car.
Fair enough. So we've got a question about the I guess the schedules of the actual staff, the team, the mobile teams themselves out there on the road. You know, has there been a challenge in terms of the lost time on charging from those mobile teams when they're out there on their jobs and on their road?
So I'm not, so I don't think there's been any particular loss, like critical loss of time and efficiency in our operations, purely because of the fact of how we are transitioning the vehicles, step by step, depending on what makes sense to transition first, rather than just, blanket transitioning everyone. I don't have stats to hand in terms of, actual figures, but what I can say is that if you are clear on what vehicle segments, what business units you transition first and why, and have a solution that is tailored to that, then that impact will be minimized for sure.
Okay, sure. And then when it comes to maintenance and repair, my understanding is that EVs have much less maintenance requirements than ICE vehicles anyway, but got a question from Chris Patfield about, what's the infrastructure regarding that vehicle maintenance? Do you have your own team of mechanics which you work with, or are they kind of outsourced mechanics?
So, first just to say that, so an electric vehicle has, I think, electric drivetrain has less than 20 moving parts compared to, I think, 200 in a nice vehicle. So definitely less need for maintenance, different type of maintenance needed. It's going to be very tech and software enabled going forward rather than mechanical. But yes, we have partners that we use to fix our vans as and when they break, let's say. So I think in a similar way that we would do with normal vehicles, we have that same network. Clearly, it's going to be a different network, and it's something that needs to be considered while when you think of that transition. It's often people often overlook the fact that there's maintenance behind, and then you get a whole bunch of vehicles that you don't know how to maintain. So making sure that you have that thought at the back of your mind at the beginning and create that network early is important.
Cool, brilliant. So we've got lots of questions, Alex. Everyone's fascinated by the topic.
Great topic. I agree. Yeah.
So the next question is around, has MITIE ever looked into, because David kind of wrote in to say, everyone talks about cars and vans, but is there a role for kind of electric bikes within FM? And, just to kind of downscale those, the size of vehicles and such, is there a role for like kind of the e-bike or the e-cargo bikes within the FM? Have you looked into that at all?
So that is a very, very good question that I must admit I haven't thought about. But yes, it obviously depends on the client site that you're managing. But if you have a big industrial estate, like a campus, which is all, it's not too far away from each other, then there's no reason why you couldn't have e-scooters or electric bikes to move around your engineers within the campus. Absolutely. I'm not 100% sure whether that's something we already do or not, if I'm honest. But if we don't, I'm definitely gonna get someone to look into it, because obviously if you have to go from Scotland to Wales, then clearly impossible. But yeah, there's definitely scope for that, and that goes back to the trends we were saying, right? How can you? It's not just about switching to electric vehicles. It's about, first of all, getting less vehicles on the road and reducing the footprint of those vehicles. And if that means having smaller vehicles, then by all means, it's a win.
Cool. So I've got time for one more question. We've got a technical greenhouse gas emissions question. How are you on greenhouse gases? Are you able to field this particular question?
Sorry, which one is this?
There'll be how do you account for greenhouse gases from the electricity used to charge the EVs? I.e., does it kind of fall under the site location emissions, or do you kind of segregate that into customer sites? And also, you've got personal vehicles as well, which are charged at home sometimes as well. So there's a lot of technicalities in the greenhouse gas reporting.
So I might revert to, I think one of my colleagues from our fleet team is on the line, which may have an answer to that. So the simple answer that I know is that we definitely do it at a high level in terms of, what does this vehicle, save versus what it would have saved, what it would have emitted if it was ICE. In terms of all the steps below that we do from a reporting perspective,
sure.
I don't know if...
I know
my
that
colleague.
I know from the assessment with MITIE that when you're introducing your home charging infrastructure, you can actually get the infrastructure which includes segregated payment amounts for the individuals at home, so they can actually account for the exact amount that goes into the cars.
Yeah,
It's obviously very
yeah,
valuable.
yeah, exactly. So for our own EV, so for our own driver charging solution, we partner with Mina.
Right.
That you may know. It's sort of a software that allows people
Yeah.
to charge in different locations and reimburse, etc. And as part of their offering, they also report on emissions, which basically that allows us to understand where the charging is happening, where the vehicle is going, and then that will allow us more detailed reporting around those emissions. So yeah, we basically use our solution provider partners to support with that, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's all about partnerships and collaborations, isn't it? Alex, thank you very much for your time on this. It's been a great walkthrough. Obviously, a pit stop guide. We will be reaching out to the remaining questions as well. If we will be sending those over to you, Alex, if you're able to kind of put together any kind of responses, if that's okay, and then we will reach out to those who have put in unanswered questions in order to get those answered for sure.
And absolutely, if anyone wants to reach out directly, I'm more than happy to. And my email is just name.surname@mitie.com. So more than happy to speak to anyone on this topic.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So yes, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Coming up next time, we do have a break in December, because obviously everyone's going to be enjoying their Christmas parties and such, or the return of the Christmas parties. But then back in January, we are joined by Methven UK. Methven will be talking to us about water management within the FM sector. So we're really looking forward to that. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that, actually, because that's definitely an area within the FM industry which has been kind of neglected across the environmental spectrum. And also upcoming, we do have two webinar events in quick succession. So first up, on the 25th of November, we will be presenting the first of two reports on measuring Scope 3 emissions within FM, and how the industry should be shifting in order to be positioning itself as a kind of leader within sustainability and net zero. So please do look out for that. My colleague Maddie did actually put these the webinar links on the chat box now. And then on the 30th of November, we have the SFMI Awards, which is our annual event where we will be looking at the annual assessments which took place over September and October, which involved the likes of MITIE, and we will be presenting the awards and also giving an insight into the state of FM, the state of sustainable FM. So please do have a look at those webinars. Please do join us. Joining us for next week's event, we will be joined obviously by BAM FM, who are a key sponsor. The key sponsor of the approach, and also we'll be joined by UK GBC and other panelists as well. So it's going to be two great events to look out for. Thank you very much for your time, everyone, and thank you very much to Alex. And we look forward to seeing you at these events on screen, if not in the next Bitesize webinar in January. Have a good day. Bye-bye.